Let's pay a visit to Mark's True Crime Corner.
This is not a good neighborhood. I'm scared.
Now, here's your host, Mark Thompson.
Well, I'm delighted to welcome in my other half who has an abiding interest in an area that I have no interest in, but I know that America loves it. It's the true crime expert, Courtney, everybody.
Thank you. Hi. Very excited.
It is weird that you're doing a case that I was intrigued by. Not that I'm just like, since I'm such a, not necessarily following it beat by beat, the fact that I was interested, I thought, does speak to how intriguing this case is. It's the Claus von Bülow case, right?
Claus von Bülow.
So can you, now, Albert, did you get all the stuff she sent you? I think, did you send stuff to Albert?
Yes, I did.
I did.
Okay.
Yep, I'm ready.
Thanks,
Okay,
Albert. I will say for this story, I included a lot of visuals. So if you're listening, of course, we'll talk about it. But if you're watching, you'll be able to see some of the you'll see all the visuals that I provided because there was so much captured. This was actually the first case that was televised. And CNN had just launched. So CNN was covering this like
Wall to wall.
Wall to wall when this happened. And the first case took place in, I believe it was in 1982, to give you context as to the time. But this is the case of Claus von Bülow and his wife, Sunny von Bülow. They were a couple living in New York and in Rhode Island, Newport, Rhode Island. And he allegedly attempted to murder his wife twice, but he was really only prosecuted or indicted for the second time that his wife fell into a coma. So we're going to talk about this couple and this case. So they were married in 1966, again, to give you some context to the timeline. If you go to the next visual. So, the next one is Sunny. So Sunny von Bülow, she was born Martha Sharp Crawford, and she was an American socialite. If you go to the next visual, all of the money that this couple had came from Sunny's parents. So Sunny's father, George Crawford, founded Columbia Gas and Energy. And her mother, I think it was Anne or Annie, her father was actually a wealthy entrepreneur as well. He founded a successful shoe company, but most of the wealth came from George Crawford. He founded the energy company. He actually had Sunny when he was 71 years old and died, in 1932. Wow. And his wife at the time was 30 or 31. He died when Sunny was 3, and he left her at that time $100 million. So he left that to Sunny and Annie in 1935.
1930s. Right.
Yeah. So $100 million in 1936, 35 is about as close to $1 billion now. And so Annie and Sunny live in and around the East Coast. And then Sunny goes on, she marries a prince from Austria. And his name was Alfie. And this prince from Austria, they get married when Sunny's 25. He's a tennis coach or instructor at a country club in Switzerland. And that's how Sunny meets him. His family lost everything in the fall of the Austrian Empire in 1918.
Wow.
And so,
let me just, excuse me, Albert, is her level better now? You had sent me, I don't
Yeah,
mind living
she's
in
really good. Yep.
Okay,
okay,
very
good.
Okay, go ahead.
And so Alfie, Sunny's first husband, is a prince from Austria. His family lost everything in 1918 with the fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He goes on. They have 2 kids. If you go to the next, 2 down, there should be a picture of the kids. There's Alla, who's on the left-hand side of the photo, if everyone watching, and then Alexander on the right-hand side. So those are Sunny's first 2 kids. She has them with Prince Alfie.
And again, she is the daughter of...
Sunny is the daughter of George Crawford and Annie.
Right.
And she inherited $100 million when she was 3 years old.
And these are her kids.
These are her kids.
Okay. But she wasn't married to Claus von Bülow at this point.
No. So she divorces Alfie in the 50s because Alfie is a bit of a womanizer. He's kind of running around Europe.
Wow.
And
Albert, how dare you? Go ahead.
I mean, she had the money, he had the title. That's as you would say. But she divorces Alfie. She actually starts a relationship with Claus 2 years before marrying him, but while she's with Alfie. They meet at a dinner party. That's somewhat shown in the film Reversal of Fortune. Yeah. So she marries Claus von Bülow in 1966. If you go up, you can see just back one or two, you'll see pictures of Claus von Bülow. His father is a Danish playwright, and his mother, I think, is a homemaker. He actually went to law school at Cambridge, had a law degree, and worked for J.P. Getty. And it was said that he would host these parties for Getty so that he could meet women. Like he would bring in the women and host these parties, but he was his assistant for a very long time and actually continued to be his assistant 2 years into his marriage with Sonny. But he meets Sonny. Again, Sonny's married to Alfie. He's working for J.P. Getty, and they end up getting married in 1966. When they get married, Claus and Sonny, they move to two different homes. They have a home in Newport called Clarendon Court, and they have an apartment on Fifth Avenue. And I have images of them both. Yep. So this is the home in Newport, Rhode Island. Why this home is important is this is actually where the incident occurred. Now, this house is one of the last Gilded Age mansions in Newport. It was built in 1904. How big do you think this house is, Mark?
Well, I mean, it looks immense. It's palatial.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to go 25,000 square feet.
No. What do you think she is, a zillionaire? No, it's 12,000 square feet.
Okay, I didn't know.
12,000 square feet. It's 7.5 acres. It's got 20 rooms. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it's right on the coast, in Rhode Island. So there's a couple of pictures of Clarendon.
Well, that's
Court.
where all the big money went, right, to this area in Rhode
in
Island.
the Gilded Age.
Yeah, the Gilded Age, yeah.
This home was built by a very famous Gilded Age, I can't think of the word. It was built by a very famous, I can't think of the word. He's designing homes. Architect. Yeah. And it remains very much intact, actually. This home sold for $30 million in 2021. One of the highest price points for the mansions in Rhode Island.
Really?
So
Okay.
They're living in Rhode Island. If you go to the next slide, they also have a house on Fifth Avenue, an apartment. This is a 17-room apartment on Fifth Avenue. They spend some time here.
Wow. 17 rooms?
17 rooms,
Oh, my
yes.
God.
Yeah.
Look at that floor plan. Jeez.
It's definitely large.
That's on Fifth Avenue on the 8th floor.
That's on
There you
Fifth
go.
Avenue on the 8th floor, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So there's two incidents.
They have all this property.
They have
It's
all
a
this
big
property.
bang in life.
There's two incidences. I'm going to briefly talk about the first, but I'm going to focus on the second. So December 26th, 1979.
My birthday.
That's your birthday. Huh? They're at Clarendon Court, and
Only
Sonny,
bad things happen on my birthday, I'm sure. They're at Clarendon Court, which is
the Rhode Island home.
Which is the Rhode Island
They would
home.
go there for Christmas. Sonny loved Christmas. She would decorate everything in and around the house for Christmas.
And when
she
you
loved
say
it,
she
loved it, loved
decorate,
it.
she told
She had
the
like
help.
14 people there.
Yeah, she had
as
14
her help.
workers doing it. Yeah.
Actually, Sonny had a personal sort of lady in waiting, if you will, maid. I don't like to use that term, but lady in waiting. And this woman took care of her and loved her dearly, and was actually the one that found and pressured Claus to call the doctor the first time that she fell in a coma, which was December 26, 1979. Now, it is alleged that Sonny took barbiturates or benzos, that she had a bit of a drinking problem, and she also was hypoglycemic. So it was recommended by her doctor that she not have a lot of sweets, but she did have a sweet tooth. So she's not well on December 26, 1979. I believe the lady in waiting, her name was Maria, she goes in and finds Sonny sort of very effectively asleep, but not even really breathing, next to Claus. He's laying in bed with her. And so she begs and begs and begs Claus to call the doctor. He calls the doctor. The doctor barely rescues Sonny from this first coma that she falls into for having very low blood sugar levels. And when they do blood tests on her, they find that she has very high insulin in her body. Now, for someone who's hypoglycemic, to have insulin that further removes sugar from the blood, it can kill you. It would be considered a weapon. So there's some suspicion around the house, right? It's just after Christmas. Sonny falls into a coma, and the husband, Klaus, is reluctant to call the doctor. But Sonny does recuperate from the coma, and so she is okay. But a year later, on December, I believe it was 21st, 1980, they're at Clarendon House again.
Wow.
And Sonny falls into a second coma. Now, what's interesting is she is in bed with Klaus, and he gets up to let the dogs out. I believe now it's December 22nd. And he comes back in through the bedroom to go to his study, because you had to go through the the primary bedroom to go to the study. But he doesn't notice whether or not she's in bed, Sonny's in bed. And so Klaus then goes outside. He starts to have breakfast with the kids. He asks where Sonny is. They say they don't know. He goes upstairs. She's found lying face down in the bathroom, and she's, not conscious, and she's barely breathing. And then her son, Alex, comes up, the one from her first marriage with Alfie. He puts his hand under her nose. She's barely breathing. She's very cold. And so an ambulance is called. And unfortunately, Sonny never comes out of this coma. So Sonny remains in this coma until her death when she's 78 years old. I believe it was in like the mid to late 90s. Yeah.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of questions in and around Klaus. Klaus had a black, like, attache case of sorts. And in that, he carried different vials of drugs and syringes. And so it was alleged that one of the syringes that they found had insulin on it, and that Klaus had given Sonny this insulin. Also, though, it was alleged that Sonny was using the bag to take those drugs that were prescribed to Klaus with his knowledge, but without his oversight. So the children hire a personal investigator to find enough information to indict Klaus on this, and they do.
And so clearly, I guess after the investigator looks into things, the kids are thinking, this dude did it. Klaus. Yeah. He's not our dad. He's our stepfather.
Not our dad. He's our stepfather. Now, Klaus and Sonny had one child. Her name is Cosima. But the other two children were much older than Cosima, and so they were the ones that hired the personal investigator to investigate Klaus's participation in all of this. And part of it was he was just really sketchy. It turns out that he did have a mistress. She had given him a deadline. If you don't leave your wife, I will leave you. And so there were a couple things about Klaus leaving Sonny. First, if Klaus divorced Sonny, he would get nothing. But if Sonny died of natural causes, Klaus got $14 million. He got the apartment in New York, and he got the Clarendon house in Rhode Island.
Wow.
So it would have benefited him greater.
He's got motive, as they say. Yeah.
If she died of natural causes. So the first court case starts, and he is found guilty, and he is given 30 years in prison. And this is all in 1982. If you go down a couple, you'll see him, I think, with handcuffs. So Klaus, in his 17-room apartment on Park Avenue in New York, reaches out to Alan Dershowitz, and he hires Alan Dershowitz, who at the time, and I think continues to be, a professor at Harvard. Yeah,
and so you're saying after he was convicted the first time, that is to say he got the 30 years of the sentencing, then he reaches out to
Alan Dershowitz. And he reaches out to Alan Dershowitz to help him with an appeal on the case. So Alan Dershowitz is hired. He has like 15 or 18 students help him with this case. I've heard of two other notable people that helped. One is Elliot Spitzer, was a student who participated in this. And the second is Jim Kramer. And so 15 to 18 students, if you watch Reversal of Fortune, they had like a month and a half to put together the appeal. But really, they weren't fighting for his innocence. They were looking at issues with the initial defense team and prosecution, and issues with how the case was litigated.
Right.
And so they came up with enough.
They're trying to get him off on a technicality, in effect. Yeah.
Exactly. And so he wins the appeal. He has a second case in court, and he is acquitted. So in 1985, June 10th, if you go down, he is acquitted of the attempted murder of his wife. This is the jury that's going to look at Clarendon Court.
Yeah, they made a trip to the crime scene
in Rhode Island.
effect,
This is the
alleged crime scene.
second case. Yeah, this is the second case. And then if you go down, so he's acquitted on June 10th, 1985.
Albert, is there another picture there, please, sir?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
And then, so he ends up moving. He lives actually in Sonny's apartment, in his apartment in New York. He has another new girlfriend, not the original mistress that he had. He has a new girlfriend. He lives there. And the stepchildren file a $50 million lawsuit civilly against him, which he loses. So in that lawsuit, Claus gives up any ownership or interest in the estate of Sonny von Bülow. And what happens is Cosima gets part of that $100 million fortune, and she ends up taking care of her father for the rest of his life.
So again, just because the names can get a little bit overwhelming, the name you mentioned, what's her name?
Cosima.
Cosima is the natural daughter of Claus and Sonny.
Yes.
She, even though Claus essentially, he pulls out of the whole.
He pulls out of the trust or the anything having to do with Sonny,
which makes it kind of look like, hey, look, I'm getting out of this.
Yeah.
I wasn't in this for the money. I didn't kill her or whatever. But then you're saying the daughter actually takes care of him to the tune of how much?
Well, she would have been. I don't know exactly.
She would have inherited.
I mean, if she had gotten a third, then she would have been,
hundreds of millions. Yeah.
And yes. And it's funny that not funny, but that you mention that is that a lot of people are like, well, he gave up any rights to the fund, to the trust fund, to the any of Sonny's wealth. But actually, Cosima had a much larger interest once he left and then took care of him. So he ends up moving to London. And Cosima, I think, married an Italian prince and lives in Europe.
Wow.
But then we get to, I'll go quickly to Reversal of Fortune. So this movie came out in 1990. I didn't realize that this movie was based on an Alan Dershowitz book. And so Alan Dershowitz wrote about the trial. So anybody who's seen the movie knows that the majority of the film is about the trial. It's not really about the relationship between Claus and Sonny. In parts it is, but it really is about the appeal of the case. And Alan Dershowitz makes the whole press tour, as does Claus. There's a really interesting article that's written by Dominic Dunn in Vanity Fair. I included some of the pictures.
Yeah, so what you're seeing now is the Vanity Fair cover. That is Claus von Bülow, isn't it? Or
yes,
is that,
and that's his girlfriend, the second girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is not Jeremy Irons. We're talking about the actual people here before we get to Reversal of Fortune. And on the left, you can see the People magazine piece that is titled A Shattered Family, in which you see the kids and you see Claus, and I guess that's his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is his girlfriend. She was played by Christine Baranski in the film. She had her own money, but she shocker that she doesn't end up with Claus. There's a couple pictures that I included from the Dominic Dunn article only because they were great shots.
This is the picture of Claus von Bülow that I think we all remember who were alive at the time.
And it was shot by Helmut Newton.
So there you go.
Yeah, so somewhat famously, this shot and then the shot of his girlfriend in the sort of black leather was shot by Helmut Newton in that apartment in New York. But there's a couple photos if you go through. There's a photo of Cosima and her dad.
Yeah, if you go down one, please. Oh, yeah, there it is. You got it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you
this
had
is
it.
another photo.
I apologize. I'm looking at two screens, so I can't tell which one is on.
Yeah,
there they are. So that's Cosima and Klaus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next one is him and his girlfriend. And then actually, if you go down, there's a photo. This is Sonny, and then a couple shots of Sonny. This is Klaus and Sonny in happier times. But the last one this is Klaus in the apartment on Park Avenue, celebrating, if you will, just after the acquittal.
Yeah.
And then on the far left, that's his original mistress from the first trial. Actually, that might have been from the second. She testified in both, but that's his original mistress. She was a soap opera actress. And so, yeah, it's really eerie and strange and somewhat bizarre the sort of press tour that he went on after this happened.
Go down one more though, Albert, and you'll see that's Jeremy Irons on the right and Glenn Close on the left. Close playing Sonny and Irons playing Klaus, and I believe he won the Academy Award for that, didn't he? Or I thought maybe, or was nominated.
Yes. Yeah. He won. I don't know that she did, but he won. Yeah. It was a really interesting film. It felt. I told Mark this. Now that we know who Ellen Dershowitz turned out to be after 1990, it was very strange to watch a film that was celebrating in some aspect his work on this case and the novel. But the film was really well written and was really interesting.
Well, did he write? He wrote the book.
He wrote the book, and then
go down one more, Albert, and you'll see Reversal of Fortune. There you see it on the left. It's written by Alan Dershowitz, and so the movie, as you might imagine, kind of glorifies Alan Dershowitz.
That's, I think, is it Ron Silver here on the right-hand side? That's
Ron
him.
Silver, sure.
And then if you look on the left, the woman in denim, that's Felicity Huffman.
I see.
She actually, there's quite a few famous people in this film.
No, it was a big movie, and it was a good movie, and continues to be. I want to see it. And they run the different scenarios for you so that it's they keep it kind of in the gray area as to what actually happened. Go to the next slide too, Albert, and you can see Dershowitz was out there pumping it.
He was out there pumping it. And is that Bryant Gumbel?
Bryant Gumbel, yeah.
So I don't know. I took this shot because it felt very, very, very 80s. This was 1986. You could see the screens kind of.
But there's also, to the point, very much it was in the, I've got to move along here pretty quickly. So it was very much in the zeitgeist, And there were a lot of references to the von Bülow trial. And I think if you go to the next one, Albert, there were references in. Yeah,
so more contemporary culture. I'm only referencing these because these were really popular TV shows in which there were references to Sonny von Bülow. So there was twice in Will and Grace, once in Seinfeld, and once in Gilmore Girls.
So if you go down, you'll see the Seinfeld reference, Albert, please, if you would.
And then the last part of this was just that the mansion sold just in 2021 for $30 million. These are more recent pictures of the estate.
Wow, just unreal. So very simply, Claus von Bülow may have gotten away with murder. Certainly if the first jury looking at evidence felt that he was guilty of killing his wife.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Is that wrong?
No. I mean, it's interesting. The Alan Dershowitz came in and sort of disproved or created doubt in a lot of the evidence that was used in the first trial. There was also a confusion of notes. So the prosecutor in the first trial and the personal investigator that the family hired didn't share the notes that they took for interviews with the family members and other people related to the crime. And that became an issue and part of the appeal. So there were huge lapses in the defense team on that first trial, and that led to the second trial. And there was enough doubt. So they weren't trying to prove him innocent. They were just creating doubt in the situation. And that effectively got him the acquittal. It's
a remarkable thing. Well, Courtney, you've done it again. You've taken us through something.
I know it was long, but it's
detailed, and I didn't remember a lot of it. I had no knowledge. The mistress and another mistress and all. I really didn't have any kind of feel for that. So Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, just because the guy had a mistress doesn't mean he was killing his wife. You know what I mean? They're guys running around all the time with mistresses who aren't trying to kill their wives. But it is weird how, you know, even the timing on, you know, and the way that she falls into a coma and the overdoing the insulin. I mean, it's all just pretty, come on, man.
And like he didn't call the doctor in the first time.
Yeah, he didn't
really
want to call the doctor.
Yeah, and
I
then
mean,
in
please.
the second incident, he refused to have her lady in waiting or maid come with them. So he was trying to extract her from the situation.
Yeah,
And in fact, the delay in time is what put her into this deep coma. So also, I mean, men have mistresses, but not a lot of men are married to a woman worth $1 billion who, if they do divorce, get nothing.
Right. There's that. You're right. No, he absolutely had motive. I see. Kim, anything before I excuse the witness?
Yeah. Do we wonder why these prenups are written in such a way that you get more if the person dies? I mean, doesn't it make more sense to say, hey,
That is a pretty big loophole that they.
if you get divorced, we'll give you
Yeah.
a few million. You'll be all right. You don't need to kill me. It's okay.
True.
Right? I mean, maybe that wasn't the best and brightest. I'm just thinking.
That's true. That's true.
Edward says, Courtney, is the theme mo money, mo problems? Yeah. I mean, it's sure
It
does
would
seem
seem
that
like
way.
that. I mean, there's the family was very upset with Reversal of Fortune because if you do watch the film, she seems like this woman whose life is filled with issues. And this is why she's an alcoholic who uses barbiturates. And she, in fact, sort of puts herself into this coma. But, you know, her name was Sunny. She was called Sunny because of her disposition. So
Yeah, she loved to entertain.
Yeah.
And, she, you know, I'm sorry. It's,
So many.
seems to me like the guy was clearly guilty. Yeah. Courtney, thank you.
Well,
And
thank you for having me.
that is True Crime Corner for today.
Yeah.
True Crime Corner, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.